This is a teenager. But that was not the case for his fellow cadet. The other student had been shot in the stomach. His injuries were, according to the team, potentially fatal. He needed to be rushed to the hospital ASAP. Before authorities arrived on the scene, Bailey Taylor jumped into action, leaning on the first aid instruction he learned from his studies in the JROTC. He listened, he put it to use. Lifeguard, that's what he was being instructed to do. And he used the training. He took off his hoodie sweatshirt, used it to apply pressure to the friend's stomach wound. Within minutes, 2 officers arrived and Bailey Taylor told them what he knew about the shooting, what he had done to stop the bleeding. The officers placed the boy in the back of their patrol vehicle. Bailey Taylor also got into the cruiser, sitting next to his friend, providing support in whatever capacity the officers needed. The victim was taken to Temple University Hospital. He got life-saving surgery. On the way, he is to a nearly complete recovery. Every step of the way, AB, Kahim Bailey Taylor did the right thing. It would have been okay in human nature to go, get out of there, run the other way. His fellow cadet could have bled out though. It's remarkable.
I agree. These are the type of people that should be police officers when they grow up, right? People that can think on their feet, people that can stay calm and think and figure out what do we need to do? What information do I need to share? Not people who so scary that they would have ran off and left their friend somewhere. So shout out to this young man. He deserves the honors that he received. And not only is he like a great friend, but that's a great human being to be in a position that terrifying and to just be able to just work under the pressure. So shout out to him, he deserves that.
I love it. And I love this story for another reason. And again, he got the Medal of Heroism, it's so rare. I love this story because training matters. We talked about how he learned first aid, how to be cool under pressure, and he put it to use. Some people go into shock, they can't do it. He's built for this. But I love it because if you want to stamp out racism and you want to teach people to treat each other better, not hurt each other, not spray water on people and shoot pepper balls when there's no threat, stop it, okay? If you want to do that, you have to see them. Like you said, a wonderful human being. Kahim's a wonderful human being. And if you just see him for that, are you gonna be able to shoot him in the back? Are you gonna be able to gun him down? I don't think so. I'll give you the last word. We're almost out of time. AB, I've enjoyed being with you.
No, likewise. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. And I agree with you, right? To see people as human beings. And I think that is what happened is he saw a human being in need, whether it be his friend or not. And he rose to the occasion because I would have panicked. Would have panicked, right? So it's a blessing to have that type of training. And this young man is a blessing and he just deserves all good things to happen to him. And I'm grateful that we got to end on such a positive note.
Me too, I am legally hyped. We love you. I still want to get you to Windsor, Virginia for the lieutenant's trial, okay? Again, just a security check there. We love you. Until next time, this is Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. I've enjoyed filling in.
Universal health care, raising the minimum wage. If you want clean water, clean air, clean food, keep going. If you are doing the deed, I want you to stand up to your feet right now. We have courage enough, conviction enough, people power enough to stand up and do what is right for ourselves. I am unbought and unbought. So,
hello, welcome to the show. So glad that you are here. We have a great show, just like we have every single day. And I have with me today none other than Jackson White. Jackson, anything happening over on Rebel HQ that you want us to know about?
Well, other than us covering all the, craziness happening, I guess there's really nothing new because there's crazy stuff happening all the time. Other than that, I'm, getting the year started. I just did a ton of laundry, doing a bunch of cleaning and waiting on these checks to come through. Still broke from all the Christmas traveling and gifts, but I guess that puts me in the same boat as everybody else.
Oh yeah, you sound like a typical American right about now.
Yep. Waiting on that money to come through.
Waiting on that money to come through. And speaking of waiting, yeah, we had another debacle with airlines. This at the hands of the FAA, planes, trains, and automobiles. Good luck with Pete Buttigieg in charge. And George Santos has lied about his entire history. I mean, the man is really, truly living a fairy tale life. And now Republican leaders in New York are saying enough is enough. Good on them. Finally, it took them long enough, but I'm glad they're finally saying it. And Republicans and Democrats are at it again with all of the distractions, because as long as they keep us distracted, the important matters of this nation that will change material conditions, that will help lift people, those always fall by the wayside while they play their little games. So, we're gonna cover first the FAA. Chaos at the airports this morning. Check out this headline. FAA system restored after outage that halted all domestic flight departures in the US. The FAA said the ground stop was lifted at around 8:50 a.m. and normal air traffic operations were resuming gradually, keyword gradually, as it continues to look into the cause of the problem. This report is coming from NBC News. Certainly we understand a system that large, it was going to have to happen gradually, but we also know that there is an entire domino effect to a system this large and this important. important, disrupting every other thing, sending shockwaves and giving people flashbacks to what happened with Southwest Airlines. NBC News goes on to report flights across the United States resumed Wednesday morning, several hours after the Federal Aviation Administration suffered a computer outage that forced it to halt all departures nationwide while it scrambled, and I mean scrambled, to resolve the issue. Further, the FAA said the crippling delays that affected thousands of flights appeared to have been caused by a problem in the notice to the air mission system, which sends pilots vital information they need to fly. I mean, this, Jackson, to me sounds eerily similar to what happened with Southwest when they lost track of employees and also airplanes.
And the only difference is, well, maybe there's more than only, but one of the major differences is they got it turned around fast. Southwest, they lagged a little bit, but it's definitely good that the flights were down, because we don't want to have people flying all over the place and not knowing where everything is and not knowing where everybody's at. But I guess the silver lining to stuff like this is we see areas that need attention, that need adjustment. And obviously the FAA being a part of the federal government, we have opportunities to restaff people with every election. And this gives us opportunities to learn more about government agencies by looking into how they work. So that's my biggest take on it, is now we can hold them more accountable.
I love your silver lining.
You gotta find one. You gotta find one somewhere. You know what I mean?
You're right. Draws more attention to it. People will pay more attention. They'll study. They'll dig. And I especially like how you said we face a good chance to reset during every single election if we
absolutely.
Yeah. So some people understandably started to question whether or not this was a cyber attack, and that makes total sense to ask that question. But according to White House Press Secretary Jean-Pierre, investigators have seen no evidence of a cyber attack. Moreover, President Biden has ordered an investigation as well. He should. Regardless of whether or not, though, this was a cyber attack, it is clear that our country has not made the requisite investments in our transportation system, and that is the entire system, the infrastructure for our transportation system. We are woefully inadequate and behind many of the industrialized nations. According to experts, bad software is most likely the cause of the system-wide failure. And if that is in fact the case, guess what? We need to do better, and this is not something that just happened overnight in terms of knowing that we needed new software. It is, again, similar to Southwest in those ways, since Southwest, the technology that they were using or still using is from the 1990s. Let's see a statement made by Mr. Friedman, the president, Jeff Friedman, president and CEO of US Travel Association. And he made the following statement today. Today's FAA catastrophic system failure is a clear sign that America's transportation network desperately needs significant upgrades. Americans deserve an end-to-end travel experience that is seamless and secure. And our nation's economy depends on a best-in-class air travel system. We call on the federal policymakers to modernize. I want you to bold it, underline it, put an exclamation point, messaging about on the train, our vital air travel infrastructure to ensure our systems are able to meet demand, safety, and efficiently. Now, listen, he's right about that. And what he's asking for is not too much. This should be the order. Every single administration should be looking at our transportation infrastructure and upgrade. Dare I say upgrade? Yeah, I just want to say that one more time. Now, in the 2015 Business Roundtable report, this Business Roundtable gave a report titled "A Cause for Investing in Americans' Transportation Infrastructure." Some of the myriad of challenges facing our system was identified in this report. The US economy would certainly benefit from rebuilding America's transportation infrastructure in the report Road to Growth. There is an economic cost of neglecting the nation's transportation infrastructure. Consequences for not rebuilding America's transportation infrastructure. Here are some examples. America ranks number 16 in overall infrastructure quality, 16th behind Germany, France, and Japan. Now, since we are a hegemonic nation, there really is no excuse for that except for wanton neglect. They don't neglect enhancing and increasing in every administration, whether it's Republican or Democrat, the military industrial complex, but yet they cannot find the money in a bipartisan way to invest in our transportation infrastructure. Make it make sense, because it's making no sense to me. Highways and bridges, urban highway congestion costs the economy more than $120 billion in 2011, behind Germany, France, and Japan. And the consequences for not rebuilding America's transportation infrastructure, the waterways and ports, all important. Lock delays, port congestion, and lack of facilities for larger ships added $33 billion to the cost of US production in 2010. On the aviation side, where we are right now, the United States is home to just 4 of the world's top 50 airports, and aviation congestion and delays cost the economy $24 billion in 2012. And our transit rail, only 25% of transit rail station infrastructure is rated good or excellent. So we got a problem. Now, various airlines have noted customers or notified customers that they should expect delays all day. Certainly understandable given the weight of and the size of the airline industry. And this is a bitter pill to swallow. It really is, especially given what people just had to endure because of Southwest Airline. Just a couple of weeks since then, we have this. So the Fed, they need to do their job, get on top of this right away. Post haste, don't play no games with this. Let's do this. Moving on, George Santos campaign funds. We here at Unbossed know that George Santos is a fraud. Now it's looking like Republicans have caught on. Watch this.
I don't think he should be here, that's for sure. But there's a process in place that has to apply equally to all members from both parties and both chambers. And that's the House Ethics Committee, as your panel just pointed out. To the extent that there's concerns about how long that would take, we should just have an expedited review.
Yes, an expedited review. That sounds just about right. And that was Republican Rep. Brian Fitzpatrick. But he's not alone on this opposition to Representative Santos. Check out this headline. New York County GOP leaders call for Rep. Santos' resignation over fabrications. Why are they calling this fabrications? The man is a liar. So let's just use the strong word lie and forget the little kitty fabrications, please. Now, Santos quickly responded, watch this.
I will not. Guys, we're gonna need a little bit of space here.
New York Republicans are calling you a disgrace. You will not resign?
Pardon me?
What is your response to New York
Congress is trying to get in the
Republicans?
elevator.
He is a disgrace, and he just said that he will not resign. They're gonna have to keep putting the pressure on him. Let us remind you all the lies that Santos has told. Let's put those up. Said he worked at 2 prominent Wall Street banks, as Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, had obtained degrees in finance and economics from 2 New York colleges. He also said that he was Jewish, that 4 employees of his company were killed in the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, Florida in June of 2016. His latest lie is related to campaign finances. A complaint was filed with the FEC on Monday. The CLC alleged that Representative George Santos and his 2022 campaign committee, the Voter Santos for Congress, violated federal campaign finance laws by engaging in a straw donor scheme to knowingly and willfully conceal the true sources of $705,000 that Santos purported to loan his campaign. This reporting is coming from The Guardian. The group also said Santos deliberately reported false disbursement figures on FEC disclosure reports, among many other reporting violations, and illegally used campaign funds to pay for personal expenses, including rent on a house that Santos lived in during the campaign. And finally, the complaint notes multiple campaign expenditures, widely reported, of almost $200,000, or excuse me, $199.99, 1 cent below $200 FEC threshold for provisions of receipts. Oh my God. Jackson, I mean, we can't even make this stuff up. Even though in talking about Santos, I guess we could make it all up and it would be very fitting for
this. Right, exactly. It would be fitting. And I mean, the Republican Party might as well do everything they can to get him out. And I mean, just because the truth is that George Santos is beyond useless to everybody. Because the only thing that you know about George Santos for certain is that you can't believe and trust anything that he says, which makes him useless to anything that's even cynical or evil. What you gonna do with somebody you can't trust whatsoever? So again, his spot in government really is useless. And the funny thing is that if he doesn't resign or if he isn't kicked off, naturally he's gonna get frustrated. I mean, he just will. And he's gonna start to show that frustration, which obviously won't help his case. But I mean, he really, and you know, the stories that come out that show that he's been doing this his whole life, but it's just caught up to him and in such an epic and front-facing way, because he really can't do anything else from here. He really can't.
No, not at all. And even, I mean, Jackson, the sad part about it, if he stays and they don't put him on committees, which they have been talking about ahead of this new campaign finance complaint, he will just get paid and just sit there on the taxpayer's dime until his term is up if they're not able to get him to compel him to leave. So we're gonna stay on top of this. And another thing about this man, he's a racist. Here he is, you know, making a white power sign. This is him right there in the chambers. So, yeah.
Oh, well, he got a signal to somebody. Maybe he's strolling. He a Kappa. Maybe that's what it is. He lied about it. He part of Kappa Alpha Psi. He on a stroll in the Congress. That's what it is. But no, I mean, and I was just talking about earlier. He lied and said he was one of the first people that caught COVID, which is like, I mean, unless it's like one of the first recorded cases. It's really astounding. And like I said to my podcast audience, I was like, you somewhat have to admire his dedication to something. You know what I'm saying? And you know, his dedication to being a fraud is quite astounding.
It is quite astounding, Jackson. Say that out. It is quite astounding. Well, we're gonna keep up with this story and keep you updated on what happens to now Representative Santos. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it, though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
Welcome back to the show. Now it's time for viewer comments, but before we get to those, the progress report. If you want to be up on the news in a way that is detailed, is distinct, you need to get the progress report. Progressive news and inspiration every weekday morning. Just go ahead and scan, put your smartphone up right now and scan it, or you can subscribe at youtube.com/unbossedTYT. So go ahead and get that progress report. You don't want to miss it. And so also, let me give you an additional one. Sign up at tyt.com/newsletter. Will you do that for us? And then coming up after this show is the Twitchation Room. Up next with Francesca Florentini at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/TYT. You do not want to miss Francesca. And just in case you haven't done it yet, go ahead and spin that wheel. You're no longer just a viewer. Once you become a TYT member, sign up and spin. Sign up for an annual membership to TYT and spin the wheel for an exciting prize. You want to know how you can participate? Well, you can take your smartphone and scan that Q code. Become an annual TYT member at tyt.com/spin. Spin the wheel when you get your membership confirmation email. Land on a prize and wait for delivery via mail. As long as it doesn't involve an airplane, we'll get it to you. All right, I couldn't resist that, Jackson. I had to get that little ticket there. All right, got to do. All right, on to our member comments from TYT members. Sexy Speed Racer, Happy New Year, Sexy Speed Racer. I still shop TYT. I still say Shop TYT is missing a great opportunity for Unbossed with Nina Turner brand fire extinguisher. I love that idea, Sexy Speed.
Oh yeah, you gotta make like a bomber jacket or something. Yeah, like
bomber
that.
jacket.
TYT bomber jacket is nice. You know what I'm saying? Got to do something like that.
Yeah,
have people up in the clubs and in the fancy places repping your name just right. You know what I mean?
Come on now, I know exactly what you mean. Thanks for that idea, Sexy. We appreciate it. And on Twitch, Melanie, Nina Turner 2024. Hello, somebody. Hello, somebody. Thank you, Melanie. Hello, somebody. And Happy New Year. And on YouTube, Super Chat, Snack Panther. Hello, Sister Nina. Have a great show and give Skip Bayless some hell today. You know that. Snack Panther. Yes, he needs to be given hell every single day. He still has his job as of today. And no one, and I mean no one of profound note, I'm talking about on the same level as the folks that drug Kyrie Irving through the mud and humiliated him nationally. None of them folks can't find him to tell Skip to the loo, my darling. No, they know where to be found. You know why? Because his transgression was against a black man. And unfortunately, the higher ups, they don't get rattled by that. So Skip has no fear about having any kind of consequence or repercussions for what he said, what he put out in Twitter, what he doubled down on in a very traumatic moment for Hamlin. So glad that he has been released from the hospital, and he put out a tweet, as we know, Jackson, a few days ago now, saying thanking people for their prayers and uplift, and we continue to pray that he has a speedy recovery.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. We're gonna keep it 100. So thank you for that. Thank you for that, and thank you all for your support. We love you so much. Politician distractions. We're used to politicians playing games, but now it feels the distractions are reaching new highs or maybe new lows, depending on how you look at it. The latest example, gas stoves. Yep, you heard that correctly. Check out this tweet from Representative Ronnie Jackson of Texas, because he just had to put this out, just had to. I'll never give up my gas stove. If the maniacs in the White House come for my stove, they can pry it from my cold, dead hands. Come and take it. I double dog dare you. I threw that in there. Man, are you kidding me? I mean, I wish that this representative and his colleagues would show this kind of emotion for the fact that they did not renew the child tax credit. How about that? But over gas stoves, this is what this dude, I don't mean that with any respect, put out there. And if you're wondering why Ronnie is screaming into the Twitter void about his gas stove, here is the reason. Look at this headline. A US federal agency is considering a ban on gas stoves. This reporting is coming from CNN. Now, this was under consideration in response to trying to combat childhood asthma. Perish the thought that we try to combat childhood asthma. And this is according to the agency. Meanwhile, however, no ban of gas stoves is planned, head of the US Safety Agency says. So Jackson, this dude got all worked up about nothing. I mean, even going to pry my gas stove from my cold, dead hands. I double dog dare you. And now we see there's no plan for a ban.
And I mean, even if there was, the reality of it is it's like, they say it like this, like the feds are gonna come raid everyone's home who has a gas stove and rip it out, which obviously would cost a lot of money, take a lot of planning and resources, aka it's not going down. Things like this get phased out slowly, with the building of new homes and new apartment buildings, and giving people incentives to change out their gas stoves with tax incentives and things like that. So again, whether or not he actually believed that there was a ban on gas stoves coming, which, he's a Republican, so he probably didn't look into it. But either way, it's, this is just another culture war thing. The left and the libs tree hugging and coming to take away your freedom to do what you want. But, but this guy's in Congress, which obviously is pretty scary.
Yeah, it is. Just the energy they put in, and Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez weighed in on this with a tweet of her own. Did you know that ongoing exposure to NO2 from gas stoves is linked to reduced cognitive performance? And that was her sarcasm against the representative. In other words, you, sir, have reduced cognitive performance.
Been huffing gas.
Yeah,
they're breathing in all that gas.
Too much gas from your gas stove. But overall, though, this back and forth over whether the feds were gonna ban gas stoves is really indeed a distraction. It is something that, given the needs of the moment, we should be very disappointed that any of our representatives are doing this type of dance, because there's so many much more important things to do, to consider, and also to fight about. Gas stoves are certainly not one of them. Let's put this up. Aaron Rupart jumped in on this. Ronnie Jackson is fundraising off of this. See, there we go. This is what it always comes down to, folks. Stop Biden from banning our stoves. Lord, have mercy on my soul. Please stop this man from banning our stoves. Our stoves are at risk. Biden and Democrats want to ban gas stoves in every home, including yours. We can't let the men in the White House get away with this. Add your name now to save our
I wonder how much money he got from this.
I do too, just to save our stoves.
Right. To save grandma and auntie from the feds running up, breaking your door down without a warrant. You know what I'm saying? To just take your stove and just leave. You know what I mean? Go buy an electric stove. You know, that's basically like the picture they paint. But he definitely raised something up off of that, because these issues actually do outrage people who look for things like that. They really do. You know, like we sit up here laughing at it because it's ridiculous, but the most people who would see that are either like really old and like addicted to Fox News, and like the highlight of their days is cooking for their families and stuff. So like that's like the stove is their life, or like just some really young radicalized right winger who's like, you know, but you better believe that's making them mad. It definitely is.
Yeah, down with government. They trying to take our stoves. Save our stoves. I mean, I'm serious, Jackson. Imagine if they had a save the child tax credit, you know,
Imagine if they had anything that made sense, you know, because like the issues facing our country aren't necessarily, well, the root causes aren't really that complicated, but the electric stoves, they come in to make the world more woke. That's what it is.
There they are. Or what about universal health care? Let's save people's lives by implementing universal health care.
That's too woke too, though. That's too woke. That's too woke. Helping people is too woke.
Oh my God. I mean, well, WTF, again, it's a distraction game, and Ronnie is not alone, unfortunately. Kevin McCarthy's committee decisions are a prime example that these types of distractions are going to continue to happen in this Congress. Kevin McCarthy will kick Democrats from powerful committee positions in payback for Pelosi snub. Republican Speaker to boot squad member Representative Omar from Foreign Affairs and remove Representative Schiff and Representative Swalwell from Intelligence. This report is coming from the Daily Mail. Now, this is McCarthy's revenge, no doubt about it. It's the GOP's revenge. There's no doubt about that either. And Democrats that cave into these kind of games by even bothering to respond are distracting as well. In some ways, Biden is complicit in this. He preached about bipartisanship, but he has caved to the shake your hand mentality with the GOP, knowing full well they had their fingers crossed behind their back. Being bipartisan does not mean that you should cave to foolishness and mayhem, and that has been going on the entire time. And as both parties continue to bicker, guess who suffers? The American people. So Jackson, we are not surprised by this revenge notice by McCarthy. I mean, they made it known that if they gained back control of the House, that they were going to host a whole host of investigations and use their political power and the people's political clout to absolutely do nothing to change material conditions, but just to seek political revenge.
And really, that's all they've got. There's not going to be much litigation going on with the being a split Congress and Senate. And just in general, all these years, all this talking, after the 2020 election and that being stolen, and the Republicans being treated so unfairly, and them finally being in a position to fight for the people, it's going to be going after mainly well-known Democratic figures. People who are actually in the Democratic Party, who may be in appointed positions, or if they're more corporate and conservative in their economic stances, we won't hear very many peeps about them. But Ilhan Omar, she's in support of Palestine, so we're going to be hearing about that. And then, it's those trigger words. Anybody who's fighting for things like the Green New Deal or a stronger healthcare system, they're going to be going after them because they have nothing on the substance. So that's all it's going to be for the next 2 years.
Yeah, and I really don't understand how voters from either of the political parties could just tolerate these folks being paid the type of money that they are being paid, and they really don't deliver for the 98% or 99% in this country. They play a whole lot of political game. And they make it known that they're gonna play these games from the beginning. I mean, the Republicans really ran on give us the power back in the House, and we're gonna show those Democrats, we're gonna seek out revenge. We're gonna exact revenge against them for what they put President Donald J. Trump through. That's what we're gonna do. And we're not gonna do anything that enhances the lives of people. Even during a pandemic, we know that the COVID virus continues to mutate. We got infrastructure problems, that we knew we had those problems even before what happened to Southwest and what just happened with the FAA this morning. We knew that all along, but that means nothing to these people. We know that food costs have skyrocketed because of inflation. We know that people can't drink gas, at least not and live. We know these things. But what are these clowns and all of them, what are they doing? Just fighting back and forth. And you know what their main position is on this? It is what is best for their respective parties instead of centering the people in the United States of America. America, I've said it before and I'm gonna continue to say it again and again and again and again. At some point, bolded, underlined, exclamation pointed, message in a bottle. We must stop being complicit in our own demise. This man is outraged over a gas stove. And then you got McCarthy, who barely won the speakership, and he ain't in control, because them Freedom Caucus or Unfreedom Caucus members can make him roll at any moment. But let's just say he got the title, and as Speaker of the House, he has decided that he's just gonna exact revenge. We are in a pretty sad state, America, and only we can turn this thing around. As Jackson said earlier in another segment, elections, we can make sure some of these folks don't make it back. Now, stop playing games. Now on to a story that is even more disgusting and disturbing than this one, if you can believe that. A fair warning, the video that you are about to watch is hard, it's tough to watch. But check this out from yesterday. What you saw is this heartless, evil art gallery owner in San Francisco spraying an unhoused black woman. And let me say from the start, even if it was an unhoused white woman, purple woman, yellow woman, green woman, or unhoused, whatever, in the whole rainbow, what this man did is outrageous and he needs to be arrested for assault. Come get him. And it's on video. The video didn't lie. So here's more on this heartbreaking encounter. Caller Gwynn, the owner of the Foster Gwynn Gallery in the California city's upscale Jackson Square neighborhood, admitted that he hosed down the woman to get her off his sidewalk on Monday. This reporting is coming from the New York Post. Now, the last I heard, Jackson, I'm gonna let you jump into this real quick. Sidewalks were public property. But this dude, I wanna call him something else, claims he owns the sidewalk. And even if he did, but he doesn't, what he did to this woman, to this lady, was callous, was evil, was mean, was unacceptable, and he needs to be arrested.
Yeah, it was disgusting. Like you said, callous and evil. And there's so many other things that he could have done. Obviously, one, just talking to her, treating her like a person. If she really needed to move, he could have talked to her, figured out what was going on. And even if like the situation was negative, he could have, like this may be difficult to say, but calling the police would have been better than spraying someone with water. She had on a jacket, so it's clearly a little cold out there, which obviously could lead to being sick. So there's just so many other things that he could have done instead of that. It really was just hard to watch because you have to be rather sadistic to even think to do that. He absolutely enjoyed it. It made him feel powerful.
Yeah, you definitely do. Sadistic is the proper word to describe this. And you know what? He's refusing to apologize. Check this out.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course I didn't want to spray her with the hose. In my mind, would not have done that if this hadn't been constantly exacerbated over and over and over. But I find it hard to apologize when we've had no help on this situation by taking her to some sort of help for psychiatric evaluation.
So now let me get this right. He's the one being harmed. And then he alludes in his comments that the lady might need some psychiatric evaluation. You know what, that makes it even worse. Because if he did believe in his heart that this woman had some type of mental health challenge, on top of that, you sprayed her with a hose anyway. And let me just tell you something, because I'm in paper throwing mode. This reminds me of the water hoses that was used on black folks fighting for civil rights. Okay, I'm throwing papers now. I'm all over it. That this man would do this to this woman. And she is a black woman. So all kinds of thoughts are bubbling up in my head, and I'm sure in yours as well. And then he got the pure, unadulterated gall to try to blame the victim. California, you know what? Get him. There has to be some assault charges filed on this man. And anybody that frequents this gallery should boycott this gallery. This man just said he ain't gonna apologize. And that's the least he can do. You know, Jackson, I mean, Minister Malcolm X said one of the most disrespected people walking the earth, and I'm paraphrasing him, is the black woman.
100%. And you know, the fact is, he wouldn't have sprayed anybody who was any kind of physically threatening to him.
Come on.
That wouldn't have happened. Like, plain and simple. Even if it was like a 16-year-old teenage boy, he wouldn't have sprayed him like that. He did it because he knew that she wasn't going to beat him up or anything like that. And then too, you know, that it obviously doesn't help with the branding or marketing of his shop. You know, it's like, I don't really care that much about people, so yeah, come to my art gallery, like, you know. So I definitely hope, and it's in California too, which is a rather liberal state. So, I mean, he needs to go to Arkansas somewhere and do that. I mean, he don't need to do that nowhere, but he's not in an environment that generally supports that type of stuff anyway. And there's a huge homeless issue in California, but yeah, you know, come on.
We'll see if they're gonna tolerate it. Let's see if there are gonna be some consequences and repercussions for this gallery owner. Now, Gwen was further quoted as saying the whole neighborhood is a part of this situation. The police force is a part of this situation. The city and the social services is a part of this situation. There have been repeated attempts to try to help this woman who is psychotic. Again, if the lady has a mental health problem, this is not how you solve it. This is not how you treat her. You treated her less than, I mean, I wouldn't even want to see an animal treated this way. But you did this to her. And you felt very comfortable doing it, because most likely there won't be repercussions and consequences for your actions. Something wrong with you, man. You the one that need to go and get a psych eval. Because you got to be pretty sick to treat another human being who you think may have mental health challenges that way. Something wrong with you, really. Gwen was rightfully met with backlash, including from city officials. City officials better do more than talk the talk. Well, let's put up what they said. I don't care how frustrated somebody is. This is not the way human beings treat other human beings. And that's coming from Aaron Peskin, president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. Mr. President, we want to see more than this quote up there. Yeah, we do. And especially at a time when California is being battered with horrendous weather. We've all seen the reports about what is happening in the state of California at this time. California is nowhere near done with the recent string of storms that have killed at least 17 people since last month, driven thousands from their homes and submerged roads and communities under flood waters. That reporting coming from USA Today. I mean, really, but that didn't matter to this man. And what this art gallery owner did is anti-black, is anti-unhoused, and it's just pure cruelty. We should put his smug shot up, because I want people to know exactly who did this and where his gallery is exactly located. Y'all need to boycott that man, protest this dude. But this is also a reminder that the elected officials of San Francisco and the state of California need to act. And I mean right away. According to an August 2022 report, for every one person a San Francisco program houses, an estimated 4 will become unhoused because the city's Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing has not been able to keep pace with inflow of people who become newly homeless or return to homelessness throughout the year. That is what an August report revealed. So Jackson, a lot of work must be done here. I mean, we can't overstate how cruel this man was to this lady, and he should have to suffer for it, legally for it.
Absolutely, he should have to suffer legal for it, and this highlights the issue of homelessness in the country, and that we have to do something more about it than just shuffle them away somewhere else. Because if you shuffle them away somewhere else, they're still going to be there. And of course, that doesn't solve the issue of more people and new people becoming homeless. So it's just a huge mess.
It is a mess. And this is really disgusting. Anybody that cares just about just basic human dignity would have to say that what this man did was very, very cruel. We'll be back. I need my fire extinguisher.
I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, and that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad, and I just moved on with my life. But everybody liked it, and so they kept it going, and so we've embraced it. And I think again, this was during the period of the pandemic. I think it was sort of nice to have a renewed sense of community, a feeling that you're a part of something when everything seems so chaotic. And as a result of that, we've got independent artists online streaming, making beautiful digital art of dragons. We've got, we've released a number of pieces of merchandise that people love sending us photos of them. And then, by the way, for me personally, people send me, like you can probably see in the background, like a knitted dragon someone sent me. There's a dragon book they sent me, dragon board games they send me. People have done like custom ironworks, making dragon bottle openers. Like the fans are super invested in diamond art and things like that. And so it's great that they send this stuff. Sometime we're gonna have to set up a wall of all of it. But yeah, it's definitely brought the community a lot closer together. The fact that we were no longer in this big studio, I felt a lot more personally attached to people. It felt very immediate. And I know that I personally needed the connection.
Did you know that more than 20% of the world's oxygen comes from the Amazon? Why? Because of trees. I know what you're thinking. Of course! So what do we want to do? We want to plant more trees so we can save the climate. It's quite literal. So that's what leads to our new partner, Plant Your Change. Love it. It's so easy. What they do is you take the credit or debit cards you already have and you plug it into the system. And if you so choose, you get to round up every purchase to the nearest dollar and they plant a tree for you, okay? Now you could also choose if you wanna do it on only certain kinds of purchases or only so often, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But literally every cent makes a difference here. It's Plant Your Change. And if you wanna know more information, just go to tyt.com/trees. Let's go save the planet together.
Now, top. No. No.
Today, a terrible day for the internet, a terrible day for America. The internet as we know it is not going to exist anymore.
A real dark day for information, and yet another way that they're bleeding out the democracy.
We're now going to have these gatekeepers of information deciding what we can and can't see, and that's what scares me the most.
Whether you're conservative or progressive or anywhere in the middle, this is the one thing we should all agree to. Protect the internet, because the establishment is coming for it. Don't let them destroy the internet.
Back. Do not forget, coming up right after this show is the Tribulation Room with Francesca Frontini. You got to support Francesca. Yeah, check her out. You can go on twitch.tv/TYT. You don't want to miss Francesca, baby. She brings it. She brings it in that Tribulation Room. Go into that Tribulation Room with Francesca. All right, on to viewer comments. Cray Cray. Hey, Cray Cray. Hey, Representative Ronnie Jackson. Calling you a gas bag wouldn't be respectful to stoves. Great, that was pretty good. We like that. Jackson is chuckling too. We both like that very much. And on Twitch, Jax, when people are dehumanized, it makes it easier for heartless people to victimize them with no weight on their conscience. That is so true, Jax. Thank you for saying that. It's really sad. That story definitely has me rattled. That video is very unsettling. And Jackson and I were talking during the break that probably nothing is gonna happen to this man. Probably nothing at all. If it does, we'll definitely report it. But most likely he's gonna get away with what he did. Because there are throwaway people in the United States of America, and that lady would be considered a throwaway person, that it doesn't matter what this man did to her, unfortunately. On YouTube Super Chat, Ducky. Hey, Ducky, I love you, Miss Nina Turner and Mr. Jackson White, two of my favorite people. Well, thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Ducky, we do appreciate that. And we're sending love to all the viewers, so each and every one of you who made a comment or two and we didn't get to you. Thank you so much for your support of our show, Unbossed, and of our network, TYT. This next story is not the good story you might think it is. Watch this.
She goes into Walmart's and she meets these older folks that are still working. Yeah. And he asked her, said, "Why are you still working?" She's because I have to. So she does a GoFundMe. The one lady, she raised $100,000 for this woman, and now she's got another one going, and she just raised over $50,000 in 4 days for another 82-year-old. Oh, be damned. Yeah. Now imagine that someone raised that kind of money for you. Woo.
So the video you just watched got over 3 million views on TikTok and went extremely viral. So viral that the man in the video, Butch Marion, was able to finally retire. TikTok users raised over $100,000 so that Butch could finally retire. Marion, a widower and US Navy veteran, so when you got these representatives raising money off, they about to take our stoves. This is the kind of stuff that they should care about. But I digress. Marion, a widower and US Navy veteran, said in further videos that he had been working since he was 11 years old and spent 10 years in the Navy. The donations rolled in at an incredible pace through a GoFundMe page set up by McCarty, with donors expressing how much Marion's story inspired them. At the time of writing, the page has raised over $143,000. It reportedly received over $50,000 in the first 24 hours. And so here's the GoFundMe as of right now. And we're gonna put up that picture of Butch, and that's where it is. You know, even though this seems like a good news story, it really is not a good news story. This is it reveals the very, very, very broken system that we're operating in the United States of America, one that makes our elderly work until their 80s. I mean, how sad is that? And then on top of that, I mean, no elder should have to do this, but we always put an extra enhancement when it's a veteran, US Navy veteran. But then you got these Congress people fussing and fighting over gas stoves. This stories like this really put it into perspective, really. Never given a break to enjoy their lives is really sad. People's quality of life should matter, and people should not have to work their fingers to the bones for their entire lives and never ever get the opportunity to live a good life, to enjoy their lives. The average retirement age in the United States among currently living retirees was 59.88 years old. The median living retiree left work at age 62, and the most common age to retire was 62 years old. 18.7% of retirees retired at the age of 62, and a whopping 63% retired between the ages of 57 and 66. We're gonna put up this chart for you, this graph for you to take a look at. 2017 Federal Reserve Survey of Household Economics and Decision Making, and we see how the graph shows retired on or before and the various ages. This is a sad state of affairs that we would treat our elders like this. 62 is currently the minimum age to collect Social Security in the United States. And as a reminder, let's put up this headline: damning cuts to Medicare and Social Security are looking more likely with McCarthy as House Speaker. Here's what it will mean for retirees. So this is really sad, Jackson. You know, I was thinking about something that even my brother texted me today about, the government and them dictating what is the appropriate age to retire. Even when they take that money and put it in Social Security, there's no interest given to retirees for all the money. For people like us, we're paying into that system, but we're not gonna get interest back when it's time for us to retire. But you be late on making an IRS payment, they will not only charge you a penalty, they will also charge you fees until it is fully paid off. This, to quote the great Andrew Yang, the math ain't mathin'.
It ain't mathin', and I think that also this is important because the military, the US Army, they've been having recruitment issues. And there's always a lot of issues that go into that. But, the United States Army is a voluntary service. People don't have to do it. And one of the reasons that the biggest reason people typically don't want to join the military is because of the possibility of being sent to war. But knowing that at the other side of it, you may end up 80 plus years old working in a Walmart or a Target or something, that lessens the incentive to join as well, especially when we're moving into more of a gig type economy, which has its flaws, but it means that people can kind of pick and choose and have more options. So that also is making joining the military less golden,
appealing,
less of a good opportunity. So,
Jackson, GoFundMe is not a retirement plan. Hello? No. GoFundMe is not a healthcare plan. This country. Oh, Lord have mercy on my soul. The hegemonic nation that we are. We're gonna come back to this. We're gonna keep talking about these kinds of issues. So we got a shakeup coming in the great state of California. California Representative Katie Porter takes the leap. Watch this.
We're living through a time of extraordinary change. I'm Katie Porter. Change can be electrifying and exhilarating, but change can also be disruptive, like the constant assault on our democracy and the dangerous imbalance in our economy. The threat from so-called leaders like Mitch McConnell has too often made the United States Senate the place where rights get revoked, special interests get rewarded, and our democracy gets rigged. Especially in times like these, California needs a warrior in Washington. That's exactly why I'm announcing my candidacy for the United States Senate in 2024.
All right, that's Representative Katie Porter putting it on out there. Now, we don't know if Senator Dianne Feinstein is going to retire or not, but Representative Porter is not waiting around to find out. She said, baby, hey, we need a warrior. That's what she said. But oops, let us not leap too far and too deep, because there's another fighter that may be running for this Senate seat. Baby, we might have a showdown in the CA. Put up this tweet. New Representative Barbara Lee just told Black Caucus members in their lunch today that she is running for the Senate, per two people familiar. Hello, somebody. Here it is. Now, Representative Barbara Lee represents California's 12th district and has served in Congress for 12 terms. And Representative Katie Porter represents California's 47th district since 2023. There was some redistricting that happened. And previously, she represented the 45th district, and she has served in the United States House of Representatives since 2019. I don't know, Jackson, what you thinking about this?
Well, I think Katie Porter is, somebody that if she does win a Senate seat, she'll be able to keep it for a very long time. And also, she's somebody who can run for this seat multiple times. So I think that she has a very good chance of making herself look good, even to the broader Democratic Party. Because she has a very strong way of talking about the issues, of holding powerful people accountable, and not making herself sound like she's very good at politics. She doesn't just have the activism going on, but she just has an air about her that's useful. And I think that she can capitalize on that strongly. I think we can definitely raise a lot of attention and support behind her campaign. And I think she's awesome. And then Barbara Lee running too. Having, obviously people who are better than Dianne Feinstein in terms of just being more modern, more up to the task. It's good to see. And we need good people running. We need competition of good people running. We don't need one good person running in every state. We need a lot of good options. So I think this is fantastic.
That's exactly right. We need a whole lot of good people running, and competition is not bad. It's gonna be interesting to see how the neoliberals handle this, because oh my God, Senator Feinstein has not said whether or not she was gonna run again. How dare they mount a campaign against the incumbent? Because guess what? All incumbents own their seats. And you, the voter, should not have primary opportunities to make a choice. How dare you ask to have a choice in primaries where there is an incumbent? Because guess what? That seat belongs to them, or so they think. This is exciting, it's exhilarating, and I am all here for it. Glad to see it happen. We will definitely keep you up to date on this story. That is our time for today. Oh my God, I don't know how time always goes so quickly when we are with you. Thank you so much for your support of the show. And you know what I want you to do about this time? I want you to keep the faith. And more importantly, I want you to keep the fight. I'll see you tomorrow.